Welcome to the Relationships Decoding Podcast.
So we've gotten a lot of feedback from you guys about how strongly you react emotionally to some pretty, kind of small things.
Yeah.
Like, someone's voice or even just like being around them.
Yeah.
It can be so powerful. It's almost like a physical thing, right?
Absolutely.
And it's not just a, fleeting feeling either.
Bro.
This is something that really sticks with you.
It really does.
So let's kind of dig into what might be going on with that.
Yeah, let's dive right in.
And
I think one of the things that's come up, as we've been looking at all these sources and everything, is this idea of physiological disgust.
right.
Which is, it's not just like you don't like broccoli, right?
Yeah.
This is something deeper, something more primal almost.
Like a gut reaction.
Yeah, it's really a bodily response to something that's linked to some kind of difficult experience you've had.
So trauma.
A trauma, yeah.
Okay, so we've gotten all this information and all these articles and things about how, past trauma can actually manifest in these like really real physical reactions.
Absolutely.
So today,
we're
going to try and figure out why these seemingly small things can trigger such a huge response from you.
Yeah.
How it affects your mind, how it affects your body.
Right.
And most importantly, what can you actually do about it?
Exactly.
So you're ready to kind of get into it?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, let's start with the psychology. Like, what's actually going on here?
Okay, so one of the big things is this idea of PTSD.
Right, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
Basically, your system's on high alert.
Yeah.
After you've been through something that's really distressing.
Right.
And that could be anything from physical harm to, being in a serious accident.
Right.
To even just long-term emotional distress.
Right. It doesn't have to be a physical trauma necessarily.
It does not.
Okay, so after you've been through something like that, your brain doesn't just like file it away, right?
Yeah. Still on guard.
On guard.
Looking for echoes of that past threat.
Right.
And so that's where this idea of physiological disgust comes in.
It's more than just, like I said, it's not just a feeling of unease.
Right. It's not just, ooh, I don't like that.
Right.
It can actually be a manifestation of PTSD, where your brain is unconsciously linking certain people or their voice or even a place to that past trauma.
So your gut feeling.
Yeah, it's more than just a bad vibe. Your body's telling you something.
It's like your brain is sending out all these warning signals.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know why.
Yeah, even if you're not consciously aware of any danger.
Wow.
And a lot of the articles and research we've seen really highlight the amygdala,
Right.
which is the fear center of the brain.
Right, the emotion center.
Yeah, so when you encounter something that your brain is linked to that past trauma, it can become really active. Like it's on a hair trigger.
Right.
And that can lead to all sorts of emotional responses.
Right, and a lot of the research pointed to disgust.
Disgust, but also anger, anxiety.
Yeah.
All of these things can come up.
And this isn't just in your head, though, right?
Oh, exactly. You use the word physiological.
Right.
So there are real physical things happening in your body when this is going on.
So what are those?
Well, your heart rate might increase.
Okay.
Your blood pressure can go up.
Right.
Even your muscles tense up.
Wow.
Your body is literally getting ready for fight or flight.
Even though
you
don't feel like you're in danger.
Your conscious mind doesn't think there's a threat.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It's amazing how connected the mind and the body are, right?
They are, totally.
Okay, so let's move from the theoretical to the practical here.
Yeah.
And look at how this might actually show up in your life.
Right.
These sources we've been looking at have some really clear examples that I think connect really well to, what you might be experiencing.
Yeah.
So let's start with the workplace.
Okay.
Because that's
Big one.
a big one. Yeah, a lot of stress there.
Yeah.
So there's this example of John and Michael, his colleague.
Right.
And John put a ton of work into this project.
Uh-huh.
And then Michael basically took all the credit for it.
Ugh. Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
I know. I hate when that happens.
And then even worse, John ends up getting criticized unfairly because of it.
Oh, that's so bad.
So now every time John hears Michael's voice, he gets this like surge of irritation and anger. Like it's that reminder of the betrayal.
It's a trigger?
It is a trigger.
Yeah.
It's not even necessarily what Michael's saying, right?
It is that voice?
Yeah, it's just that sound.
That sound. So
it's bringing up all those feelings.
like bringing up all those feelings.
Yeah.
And the research pointed out that this can really affect John's ability to be objective. Of course.
At work.
Yeah.
His overall well-being.
Absolutely.
And even like team dynamics, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And if the team isn't working well, then productivity goes down.
Goes way down. Yep.
It's so hard to focus.
Right.
If
Totally.
you're constantly dealing with this, like...
It's like a gut punch every time you hear his voice.
Right, every time.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Now, romantic relationships can also be a source of these kinds of triggers.
Huge.
Right.
Yeah.
And
the example of Sarah and her ex really stood out to me.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So her ex was verbally abusive.
Okay.
And very controlling.
Wow.
And even though she ended the relationship,
the
sound of his voice still triggers this immediate...
Automatic, right.
Automatic, like dread, anger.
All those negative feelings come rushing back.
They all come back.
And she's not even with him anymore.
It's physiological disgust.
Yeah.
And it makes it so hard to move on.
To heal.
To form new, healthy relationships. Right.
Because her body is still on guard every time she hears that sound.
It's like she can't escape.
Yeah, it's really tough.
The last example that we're going to look at is school bullying.
Oh, yeah.
Which, unfortunately...
Well, everyone's been there.
I think most people have experienced that.
In some form, yeah.
In some form, at some point in their lives.
Definitely.
And the example here is someone who was bullied in school.
Right.
Years later, they see a picture of their bully.
Just a picture.
Just a picture.
Wow.
And their heart starts racing.
Yeah.
They feel shaky. And they're filled with anger and anxiety.
Wow. That's powerful.
Even just that visual trigger.
Just a photo.
Can bring back that same like intense physical response.
Amazing.
It shows how deep those negative associations are in the brain.
They're ingrained.
They're ingrained, yeah.
It's a reminder of how much those early experiences affect us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So understanding why these reactions happen is huge, right?
Yeah.
But what do you do about it?
That's the question, right?
That's the question. And I think that's probably the question on all of your minds, right?
Yeah, sure.
So thankfully,
Yeah.
these sources have some really practical strategies
Yeah.
for coping with this.
It's good.
So the first and I think most important thing is to acknowledge and validate the emotions that you're feeling.
Just be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Recognize that these feelings are real.
And they're not just you overreacting.
Well,
right?
not at all. They're not.
They're a response.
Yeah, they're your body trying to protect you.
So the sources say
They do.
reframe these emotions as natural protective mechanisms.
They're there for a reason.
Right.
They developed because you've been through something difficult.
It's not something to be ashamed of.
Exactly.
Right.
You don't need to push them down.
And just that shift in how you see these feelings can be really powerful.
It can.
Now, the sources also recommend things like journaling.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And talking.
Talking to people you trust.
Right. Friends, family.
Support groups.
Yeah. Just as healthy ways to process these emotions.
Get them out there.
Get them out.
Yeah.
So just knowing that what you're feeling isn't irrational.
Yeah.
It's not coming from nowhere.
It's a legitimate response.
It's a legitimate response to what you've been through.
Exactly.
But if these reactions start to really impact your daily life.
Really affect your day-to-day.
Yeah. Then the sources say.
They do.
You should think about reaching out for some professional support.
Absolutely.
So if you find that, this disgust is affecting your sleep.
Keeping you up at night.
Yeah, you're anxious all the time.
You're withdrawing from social situations.
Yeah, you're isolating yourself.
Yeah, it's time to get help.
Then it's time to reach out.
Reach out, yeah.
And the sources specifically mention CBT.
CBT.
Right, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
Big word.
And EMDR.
EMDR.
Eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing.
That's a mouthful.
So for anyone who's not familiar with those therapies, how can they help?
So basically, they both help your brain to process past trauma, but in a safer way.
Right.
So they weaken that connection between those specific triggers, like that voice, and the intense emotion.
The reaction.
Yeah.
The reaction.
So basically, they help you learn to react differently.
Wow.
It's like rewiring your brain.
That's really encouraging.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
So the last set of strategies that the sources talk about is creating distance from the triggers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
and rebuilding a sense of control.
Yeah.
So this might mean limiting your exposure.
Yeah, like if it's a work situation.
Yeah, like with John.
Like with John, he might need to request a different role.
Right.
Or change his workspace.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to hear that voice all the time.
It's not about avoiding life.
No, not at all.
It's about
creating space to heal.
Yeah, creating space.
Yeah.
So the sources also say that it's really important to develop those healthy coping mechanisms.
Like what kind of things?
Exercise.
Oh, yeah, exercise is great.
Mindfulness, yeah. Relaxation techniques.
Absolutely.
Hobbies. Things that you enjoy.
Things that bring you joy.
Things that bring you joy, right.
Yes.
And all of these things can help you feel more stable.
More resilient.
Right.
Yes.
And that can help you kind of buffer against those really strong reactions.
It's like building up your defenses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're starting to wrap up this deep dive now. So what would you say is the most important thing that we've learned?
I think the key takeaway is that what you're experiencing isn't just you being overly sensitive. It's something deeper. It's a response to something that's happened in your past.
Right.
Your brain and body are trying to protect you.
Right.
It's a survival mechanism.
That's a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't feel like it right now.
Even if it feels overwhelming.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think recognizing that it comes from somewhere is a huge step.
It is.
Towards feeling better, towards healing.
Absolutely.
It's not random. It's not uncontrollable.
Yeah.
So by acknowledging your emotions, not judging yourself for them.
Exactly.
Getting support from a professional if you need it.
Yeah, and creating a supportive environment for yourself.
Yeah, and building those healthy coping skills.
Right.
You can really start to gain control over those responses and move towards
a healthier mindset.
Yeah,
a more resilient you.
It's definitely a process.
It is.
But understanding what's going on is the first step.
It's a big step.
And on that note, here's something else to think about.
Okay.
Maybe pay attention to the specific qualities of a voice, or even just the way someone is, standing.
Right.
That triggers you.
Interesting.
Because maybe that can give you more insight into the specific nature of those past experiences. And help you on your path to healing.
I love that. I love that.
So thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
For this deep dive.
Of course.
Into physiological disgust.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time.